big news in the Midnight Alpha is we just discovered a giant, and I mean giant, new isle off the coast of Zul'Aman. And this isn't just a book hint or some NPC dialogue, like this is legit discovered in the alpha. We got a ton of footage from this area, but we have even more interesting implications for the story. There seems to be a destroyed bridge connection to this with the Ammani capital, and half the zone is green, which many people believe could signal the return of the Burning Legion and fell magic. However, we know there is a temple to a really dangerous Loa here, a serpent goddess, and it could be possible that this is all related to decay magic and poison, and ultimately this could be a false god that the Ammani worship that is allied to Xal'Atath. So let's look at this, as we got a whole new island we just discovered that wasn't even shown in the original announcement. Playing WoW on your phone is possible, and today I've got a super limited time offer, meaning first 100 users that use this code that you can see on the screen will get a 7-day membership with Awesome. Super simple to use, just download it with my link on PC and phone and just connect them. With the new update, there is now 4K and 8K support, desktop loading in less than a second, and you can customize your gamepad to check in on your characters anywhere when games out. You can also transfer files, open apps to the remote device, and use your device as a second screen. Best of all, it's so optimized now that it works even on weak networks. So check out the link in the description and use the new highly optimized and updated version of Awesome to play WoW on your phone, amongst other things. So honestly, this happened a bit earlier than usual, but it's likely we had just discovered the 12.1 or 12.2 zone. Very likely major patch content super early, but it could also be minor patch content as the alpha just started. And as I said, this isn't just a hint like a book, but we actually got a ton of images, we got the maps and everything. So many suggestive themes that we can sort of figure out what is going on, and we can also combine that with some new books and information so we can kind of figure out what is actually happening. As we definitely expected, Midnight is of course a half-blood elf, half Ammani zone, and really there was no way they could go around the Ammani and just focus on the elves. And while based on the map, the blood elves control most of the zones, the Ammani are actually way older and they used to control the entire thing back in the day. I mean, it's actually interesting when you look at the old Chronicle map, back when the world was in one piece. We had one continent, Kalimdor, and there was just, like, as I said, one giant landmass. If you look at the aftermath of the Trollakir War, the Ammani were actually the largest troll faction and just around the same size as the Gurubashi, but they were crazy powerful back in the day. Their lands were literally all the way down to Ula'tek, pretty much the entirety of Lordaeron, and they were bordering the Drakari that are currently Northrend, but there was no continent split back then. Zul'Aman was their capital, all the way in the corner of their empire, but a pretty insignificant area, and now, like 15,000 years ago, they're pretty much just confined to this tiny area. But completely expectedly, they have an entirely new ancient landmass to the west that we had never previously seen. We hadn't seen it because it was shrouded by a mist, and based on the temples that appear there, it seems to be ancient, like this is a place from back when they were the dominant force on Azeroth. I know what you may be thinking right off the bat, like, wow, how original. Every 2 years we discover some crazy island shrouded in magics in like this mysterious mist, but this is actually a very intriguing and interesting one. So there appears to be a strong Loa presence, an ancient voodoo like brutal type magic thing going on there, and there appears to be decay, and even more interestingly, this isn't actually an island. Like if we look at the map we had also discovered in the alpha, this island is actually huge. It appears to be around the size of Zul'Aman, and it appears that it had a bridge connecting to the capital that appears to be long broken or recently broken. So don't think of it as some abandoned landmass shrouded by magics like the Dragon Isles, but this is like how the Zul'Aman capital back in BFA had a bunch of those isles around it. This appears to have been an extension of Zul'Aman, and there's so many crazy interesting hints when we look at this because people actually went to this zone and we have so many screenshots from all over the place. So what is really interesting from the start is that you can see this even on the map, but we have like these fell like rivers all over the entire landmass. There is a very strong green theme, and people were saying that this is the return of the Burning Legion or that this could be a setup, but honestly, based on all the other hints we had gotten, I don't think this is at all fell, but instead I think this is poison and potentially decay magic. Now, decay magic is kinda strange. It was said to be connected to whatever corrupted Galakron, and we know Galakron was corrupted by the old god Yoxron, as we learned from the Titan archives. Then in Dragonflight, we had the entire decay magic mystery where those gnolls were corrupted by decay magic, and we all thought this was gonna be a big storyline that was only getting set up because of the entire Xal'atath Galakron connection, but literally nothing ended up happening. Well, here, this could be related. However, it might not even necessarily be just decay, but actual poison, and this actually matches the theme perfectly with the information that we have. So, as you can see, there are a bunch of buildings on this island, a whole lot of temples, and based on the alpha information, we have some hints that this island is dedicated to ula'tek, the Serpent goddess, with like the main temple to her in the mountains. You might remember this mysterious being, but you probably might not because it was super minor back in the day, but we saw some worshippers in Zul'Aman and like TBC, and this makes sense because this isle is literally the continuation of Zul'Aman, like an extension of it. Now, ula'tek is widely worshipped amongst various forest troll tribes, not just the Ammani, but she's very mysterious and we barely have any actual context to what is going on. The old hints were that she could have been an old god or somehow connected to the old gods, so it might not even be Aloha. After all, a big equivalent to her is said to be Hakar, that the jungle trolls worship. You guys remember him? He was like the evil god of the trolls that was doing more damage than he was helping. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the troll lore, like the specifics, but trolls are a very specific species. While they're very much civilized right now, they're playable in various forms and they are an advanced society and like an actual civilization, they are in fact one of the most brutal cultures on Azeroth. A lot of sacrifices, weird and evil gods, cannibalism, all that good stuff. So them worshipping crazy gods is pretty much their culture. However, they even know that some guys are just too evil, too bad, like Hakar, and his worship was avoided by most of the trolls, but some of them resorted to his guidance in desperate times, and while this did temporarily help, it helped at a great cost because this guy is not nice whatsoever. ula'tek is sort of the equivalent, and who knows what the storyline is here. If this worship is really the case, I mean, the poison rivers make complete sense. I mean, this is a serpent snake goddess after all, and you know, snakes have poison, but you can see this mist all over it, like a weird poison fog all over this island. Now, some sort of a fallout might have happened here, that they maybe resort to fully dedicating themselves during the Zul'Aman TBC days when they were super desperate, and this ended up backfiring. Could that be why half the zone is filled with poison rivers and bridges, like connecting to Zul'Aman, are destroyed? Maybe this just got so bad they just had to cut off the bridge. Furthermore, there is something really interesting going on because there could be decay magic, and as I previously stated, original decay on Galakron was actually the influence of Yoxron. There are hints that ula'tek, but like old hints, could be related to the old gods, and old gods are void beings. From the midnight announcement, we know some Amani are going to go to the void side and the invading force, but the storyline on how that is going to happen isn't really clear. There is a lot of potential here for a really interesting storyline that could play into the entire old god decay magic, and this could be a fake Loa. Keep in mind, we know some of these guys the trolls worship may not even be the wild gods that they think they are. Remember the entire Bwonsamdi storyline and how Muzala had tricked the trolls in his deal with the Shadowlands at the Jailer? It is possible that this Loa might be siding with the Void here, and while the regular Amani realize that she just wants to take over, the Amani fanatics are going to be following their goddess, and it's not going to be good because the Void is coming now in full force. But as I said, it might not even be a Loa at this point, it could even be someone else. Like, remember back in the day how those old god generals were hidden across Azeroth, and these Zandalari trolls unknowingly awoke them, which caused the entire Trollakir war and all the chaos that subsequently ensued all over Azeroth. This could potentially be another one of those. So really, this could be 12.1 or 12.2, but personally I think this might be one of those like 12.0.7 zones like the Isle we got in the War Within. I'm not sure if the entire patch could be based on this little area unless they somehow involve the Blood Elves here or Xal'atath arrives and this starts making sense like with the main Void storyline. Seeing that it is already in the game in the earliest builds of the alpha, I do think this could end up being a minor patch, like minor patch content, which would actually be good news if that is the case, because we could be in for even crazier things coming for 12.1 and 12.2, so for the major patches. Thank you for watching. Check out the Shadowmans were finally confirmed to actually be fake by Sylvanas herself in the new patch by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on the Titans and Greek mythology that I've recorded live on site in the Italian mountains by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time!